Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucimus Prime here. So today is a very exciting day for this video because today is Halloween. And I thought in today's video I would do a franchise ranking for the franchise which contains my #1 favourite horror movie of all time. And this is going to be for the movies which of course feature the character of Hannibal Lecter. So yeah, I'm going to be ranking the films. So there are so far 5 movies with the character. And I'm going to be ranking them from best to weakest in my personal opinion. So yeah, let's begin the franchise ranking, shall we? So let's start off with what is easily, without question, my #1 favourite of this franchise, and what's also my favourite horror movie of all time in general. I'm going to be going 100% with, of course, what is 1991's The Silence of the Lambs. This is just an absolutely incredible, perfect horror movie right here. I love this movie, directed by Jonathan Demme. And it's just absolutely incredible from start to finish. Really is. So what's great about it is, it has a really phenomenal cast of actors. So I think the #1 highlight of this film, guys, is most definitely the legendary Sir Anthony Hopkins as the character of Hannibal Lecter. He's probably my favourite horror movie villain of all time, and he's so scary, very intimidating, really creepy, really is, and he really nailed the role in my opinion, perfectly cast in my opinion, and Swansea just nailed the role, and he definitely deserved his Oscar. They won for the role too. Definitely very well-deserved Oscar. And wow, just so scary and really creepy. And as well, what's also amazing is Sir Anthony Hopkins even improvised Lecter's first scene because Jodie Foster, who of course plays Clarice Starling, of course, had no idea that he was going to make fun of her accent. So when he did that in the movie, her response to him making fun of her accent was actually genuine. And wow. In addition as well, guys, speaking of Clarice, I really do love Clarice. She's a very great protagonist played by Jodie Foster, probably my favourite role of Jodie. And she played her really well in my opinion. She was a really likeable, smart character. I really love Clarice. And I also as well love the addition of Scott Glenn as Jack Crawford, my favourite role of Scott Glenn. He was a very good character as well in my opinion. Played really well by Scott Glenn. And the movie is also as well introduces another villain, of course, which is Buffalo Bill, played by Ted Levine. This is probably my favourite role of Ted Levine. And I gotta say, he was also really scary in my opinion as well at times. And really creepy as well, absolutely. And I also as well love the score composed by the legendary Howard Shore. He really did compose really great music in this movie, which was definitely really scary. If they were torn the movie so well, in my opinion. And yeah, wow. The music for this was just absolutely perfect, guys. Although I do personally like his music more in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movie trilogies, but he still did a great job composing music for this. And speaking of music, I also like the addition of a song called Goodbye Horses as well. That definitely was a nice addition to the soundtrack as well. And also as well, the kills in this were also very graphic as well, because Hannibal is of course a cannibal. And yeah, they're really brutal kills, goodness me. And this movie just leaves you on the edge of the seat from start to finish. It's just an absolutely mind-blowing, scary movie. Of course, and based on, of course, book of the same name by Thomas Harris. And yeah, this is definitely a really amazing movie. And yeah, without question, my favourite horror movie of all time. Yeah, I love The Silence of the Lambs. So if I was to give it a score out of 10, guys, I would give it a full-blown 10 out of 10. Absolutely, my favourite horror movie of all time. Then on to what is my second favourite of this franchise. I'm going to go in with what is, of course, the sequel to this movie, which, of course, would have to be 2001's Hannibal, released 10 years later, directed, of course, by Sir Ridley Scott. And this is definitely a very good sequel, in my opinion, but sure, it may not add up to Silence of the Lambs, but what's good about it is, once again, Swansea just nails the role of Hannibal in this movie. He's still great in the role, in my opinion. And the movie also introduces many new characters, as well as bringing back Hannibal and Clarice. For example, it includes the addition as well of Ray Liotta, may he rest in peace, as Paul Krendler. He was a very good supporting character. I also liked Giancarlo Giannini as well, as the character of of the Inspector called Rinaldo Pazzi. He was a very good addition to the cast as well. Part of my favourite role, Giancarlo. I also as well loved the addition of a legendary Gary Oldman as a new character called Mason Verger, who is a victim of Hannibal who deformed his face during a therapy session. So yeah, poor Verger, and he wants revenge on Hannibal. And also, the movie also does bring back Clarice, guys, but Jodie Foster did not come back because she didn't want to return, because she didn't like the script for a movie, so she was recast with Julianne Moore. And I gotta say that, the recasting of Clarice I didn't really like very much, because I do prefer Jodie Foster more, but Julianne Moore's performance was good in my opinion, but, she's no Jodie Foster, but she was still good in my opinion nonetheless. And the movie, once again, maintains the amount of graphicness which you needed for a Hannibal Lecter movie, absolutely, as well. And I think one particular example, guys, is probably the infamous brain scene, where Lecter drugs Krendler and opens up his scalp and then opens up his brain and then takes a bit out of it and feeds him. Like, oh my goodness, that is just absolutely gruesome. Oh, man. Really graphic scene, in my opinion. I think another one as well, which is also very graphic, is also definitely the death of Pazzi, because Lecter baits him into an isolated room of a Palazzo Vecchio and then ties him up and disembowels him. Oh my goodness. And then hangs him from a balcony. Yeah, that's definitely a very graphic scene, in my opinion. Yeah, definitely a very brutal scene, of course, and this film definitely had many of it. And I think when it comes to things that, bad qualities, I could say, sure, it doesn't add up to Silence of the Lambs, and didn't really like the recasting of Clarice that much, really. But Julianne Moore still did her best, in my opinion. And also, as well, the ending is also different to a book by Thomas Harris as well, slightly, because the ending is, of course, much different, really, because at the end of the book, Clarice embraces Lecter, and they share the brain together and eat it. So, yeah, whereas in this movie, of course, she does not do that. She instead handcuffs his wrist to hers, and then, of course, after that, he's then shown on a plane later as well. So the ending is of course different to the book by Thomas Harris, but still, in my opinion, this is a good sequel, and if I was to give it a score out of 10, I give it a very solid 9 out of 10. So yeah, and then what is my third favourite? I'm probably going to go with what is, of course, a prequel to Silence of the Lambs, released, of course, a year after Hannibal in 2002, which, of course, is 2002's Red Dragon, directed by Brett Ratner, and from a screenplay by Ted Talley, who returns from the Silence of the Lambs. So this is a pretty good prequel, in my opinion, guys, and it features Anthony Hopkins returning as Hannibal again, and he once again still nails the role, in my opinion, but yeah, but sadly doesn't have much screen time in this, which is a bit of a shame, really. I was hoping it'd have more screen time, but the film does introduce many great characters who I definitely love the addition of, played well by our actors. For example, I like the addition of Edward Norton as Will Graham, probably one of my favourite roles of Ed Norton of all time. He played Will Graham really well. And the movie also introduces another villain, guys, who goes by the nickname of the Tooth Fairy in this, which of course is Francis Dollarhide, played by the amazing Ralph Fiennes. And I gotta say that Dollarhide was very intimidating, in my opinion. Yeah, really intimidating, goodness me. And Ralph played him brilliantly, in my opinion, and although personally, guys, I do prefer him more as Lord Voldemort in Harry Potter, but still he was great, in my opinion, as Dollarhide. The movie also introduces Crawford as well appearing, and he's played by Harvey Keitel in this movie, guys. And I gotta say that Harvey was a pretty good choice for a role, because he does have a slight bit of resemblance, in my opinion, to Scott Glenn, and it will make sense as well to cast him in, because he does have a similarity to Scott Glenn, in my opinion. And he played him very well, in my opinion. Although personally, guys, I do prefer Scott Glenn as Jack Crawford. And Harvey Keitel I do like more in his collaboration with Quentin Tarantino, but he still played Jack Crawford really well, in my opinion. I also as well like the addition as well of Emily Watson as Rebecca McLean, and also Mary Louise Parker as Molly Graham, Anthony Held as Frederick Chilton. I also as well love the addition of the legendary Philip Seymour Hoffman, may he rest in peace, as Freddie Lunz. He played his part really well in this movie, in my opinion. Philip's a great actor, and may rest in peace. Yeah, I still like him better as Plutarch in the Hunger Games films, guys, but I do like him in this movie as Freddy. He played Freddy really well, in my opinion. And yeah, so my bad call with this film is that sure, Anthony Hopkins does have a screen time as Hannibal. Sadly, doesn't really appear much, really, but I can let it slide by, you know, accepting this as being a movie about Dolarhyde being the main villain, really, I guess. And also, one other bad quality is that even though this movie is a prequel, I can tell that Anthony was getting older, because this is, of course, 11 years after Silence of the Lambs, so understandably so. So Anthony has aged in the gap, of course, and because this movie is supposed to be a prequel, it kind of defeats the idea of it being a prequel, because I can tell that he's getting older. But nonetheless, for his performance, as always, was still fabulous. And if I was to give Red Dragon a score out of 10, and I would probably give it a very solid 8 out of 10. Still a very good movie, in my opinion. Very nice prequel. It even has a very good anyway. It says up Silence of the Lambs as well, of course, and also with great music composed by Ivy Mays and Danny Elfman as well. So yeah, so nonetheless, I think Red Dragon is a very good prequel film, in my opinion, guys. And so that's it for movies which star Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal. And now we're going on to the 2 others which do not star him as Hannibal. So next up, guys, my 4th favourite of the Hannibal franchise would have to be, of course, the very first adaptation of The Silence of the Lambs, which, of course, would have to be 1986's Manhunter, directed by Michael Mann. So this film is good, in my opinion, guys, but there's some things about it I don't really like very much, but it's still a decent watch, in my opinion. So the good thing is, it has a very good cast of actors. I did like William Peterson as Will Graham, although personally I do for Ed Norton. And the movie also has Dennis Farina as Jack Crawford. He was good, but personally I do prefer Scott Glenn and Harvey Keitel. And also, Hannibal appears in the film played by, of course, by Brian Cox. And Brian played him very well, in my opinion, guys. Although, he may not add up to Anthony Hopkins, of course, but I thought he played him very well in this movie. I just like the addition as well of Stephen Lang as Freddy Lunds as well. He was good as Freddy, but personally I do prefer Philip Seymour Hoffman. And also as well, music composed by Michel Rubini and the Reds is also good to listen to as well. And also, the kills for what they were also good to see as well. Although, I think one of my bad qualities with this film isn't very much kills, which is disappointing, really. I think Red Dragon had, you know, much better kills and much more of them, though, in my opinion. And Dolarhyde's also in his film, guys, played by Tom Noonan. Noonan was fine, in my opinion, but personally, guys, I don't think he was intimidating as Ralph Fiennes as Dolarhyde, in my opinion. I think Ralph Fiennes was way more scary and intimidating, in my opinion, but Tom Noonan was good for what he was given. But personally, guys, I do like him more as Kane in RoboCop 2, but he was still good, in my opinion, as Dolarhyde. So, when it comes to bad qualities with this film, I've already said, you know, that I do prefer the cast of Red Dragon as their characters in this. Because I think they play the parts better, in my opinion, with better cast. And also, the film also as well, doesn't give Hannibal very much screen time, doesn't really appear very much, which is a bit of a shame, really. In Red Dragon, he thankfully had a bit more screen time, which I was happy about, but in this film, not so much. There's also not very much kills either, which is disappointing. There's not very much graphic kills or anything like that, which is a bit of a shame. And also as well, I've already said that in my opinion, Dolarhyde wasn't that intimidating, and the film also as well does some liberties in which it changes the spelling of some of the characters. For example, Hannibal Lecter's surname is spelled differently to above by Thomas Harris, and so is Dolarhyde as well. So yeah, I kind of wish they stayed more faithful, really, but nonetheless, this film is fine, in my opinion. It's a decent movie. It's still watchable. But personally, guys, I prefer Michael Mann's work on, you know, in films such as Heat and Collateral. But this film, in my opinion, is still decent, and it was to give it a score out of 10. I'll probably give it a very solid 7.5 out of 10. So yeah, it's still a decent film, in my opinion. But in my opinion, it doesn't add up to the Hannibal Lecter trilogy with Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal. And now on to what is my least favourite of the franchise. So, this is a film which has had negative reception, but in my opinion, it's just, you know, decent, really, you know, but a bit mediocre. And this is for a prequel film, guys, which is a prequel to Red Dragon, of course, because it features Hannibal in his youth. And this movie, guys, of course, would have to be 2007's Hannibal Risings. This is, of course, a prequel film and directed by Peter Weber. So, this film, in my opinion, is just, you know, okay, really. You know, I'm like in the middle when it comes to this film. There's some things I like, some things I don't like. So, if I was to say what the best part of the film is, so, in my opinion, the best part of the film is no doubt to be Gaspard Ulliel as Hannibal, because he's played by Gaspard Ulliel is, of course. And I gotta say that he played him very well, what he was given, in my opinion. Although he did the best he could as a character, in my opinion, what he was given. And he may not add up to Anthony Hopkins or Brian Cox, in my opinion, but I thought he was still good what he was given in his film as Hannibal. And in my opinion, guys, the film is worth watching just for Gaspard, in my opinion. It's a shame that, he died earlier this year in January from a skiing accident. Yeah, rest in peace. The other cast is also fine too, I guess, like Dominic West and Rhys Ifans and Kevin McKidd and Richard Brake, and some others too, I guess, are fine too. And I guess the kills are also okay to see as well. And the music composed by Ilan and Eskeri and Shigeru Umebayashi is also fine to listen to as well, I guess, in my opinion. And however, when it comes to bad quality of this film, guys, I feel like sometimes the pacing can be a little bit slow, because the film is 121 minutes, 2 hours and 1 minute, and it feels quite slow at times, really, because nothing very much happens. It takes a bit of a while, before we get to the intense parts, really. There's not much intensity in the film, sadly, but it's still, okay to watch thanks to Gaspard's performance, in my opinion. In my opinion, he's the best part of the movie. And also as well, I also feel that sometimes the acting may not be that good, in my opinion. For example, I think one example could probably be some of the death scenes could have needed a bit of work in terms of the acting, because they weren't acted very well, in my opinion. Like, some of the actors didn't really sound like they cared when acting out the death scenes. Like, they were being a bit bland, in my opinion. So that threw me off a little bit, I guess. And so yeah, so I can see why the film got a negative reception, and I can definitely understand that. But to me, the film is just decent, really, mediocre. But in my opinion, it's worth a watch just for Gaspard Ulliel. So yeah. So if I was to give Hannibal Rising a score out of 10, guys, I'll probably give it a very decent, in the middle, 5 out of 10. Yeah. In my opinion, it's only worth watching for Gaspard, and that's it, really. In my opinion, he's the best part of the movie, because he did the best he could. He was intimidating what he was given, and there were some parts where I noticed he had similar mannerisms to Anthony Hopkins' version of Hannibal, and yeah, he played him very well what he was given, in my opinion. So guys, this is me doing my franchise ranking of the Hannibal Lecter movies. So of course, guys, in first place for me would have to be, of course, my favourite horror movie of all time, which is The Silence of the Lambs. Then second place would be Hannibal, the sequel from 2001. And then third place would be, of course, the prequel to Silence of the Lambs, being Red Dragon from 2002. And then, of course, my fourth favourite would have to be, of course, the very first adaptation, which, of course, is Manhunter. And then my least favourite would have to be, of course, Hannibal Rising. But in my opinion, it's okay and only worth watching for Gaspard, in my opinion. So that's my opinion on the franchise. So drill, guys, be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to comments how you guys would rank Hannibal Lecter movies. If you've seen them, we'll see you guys would rank them. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe and in the future. If you'd like to be a member, you can press 1 piece lads, or you can go in the description. And happy Halloween!